reviews, discussions, and theories about films in horror, sci-fi, and genre. This is the Horror Deconstruction. Like, share, and subscribe to hear more.
What's up, everybody? It's the Horror Deconstruction. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, but most likely on YouTube. Give us a like, share, and subscribe. Hit that bell icon, etc., etc. With your host, KOMP and
Harmonizing Countdown.
So today's film is
The Sadness, 2021, Taiwanese.
The Sadness, original title, Kubei. I think I knew that guy. A young couple trying to reunite amid a city ravaged by a plague that turns its victims into deranged, bloodthirsty sadists. Okay, I was trying to see if the English was wrong on that. Directed and written by Rob Jabbaz. Jabbaz. I think that, you know what's funny? I think he's...
Jabbaz. His name
I
is
think it's
Rob?
a white guy, actually. I was like...
Okay. There's a lot of
let me
Anglo-Saxon
see,
names in this movie.
Yeah, he's...
For a Taiwanese movie, there's a guy named Jim and the main character named Kat.
If Jabbaz is a white guy, but he's a Canadian guy that I guess he became an expat and maybe moved to town. Sort of like the guy who did the Raid movies. Like that guy was like,
Yeah.
not from where he was. Like he was clearly like a white guy that moved to another country.
Well, I know that Asian people will Anglonize. Is that the term? Anglonize? Well, they'll change their names to easier names when they move to white places, basically, which is not necessary.
Starring Ying Ru-chen, Ralph Chu, and Wei Hulan. So this is a Taiwanese horror film that a lot of people I picked. I didn't do the stupid question of why did I pick this.
Why did you pick this?
Let
me ask you.
Well, I picked it because I heard many things. I would see ads purporting that it was revolutionizing horror cinema. It's the most disgusting horror movie in a long time. And then I saw it, and I was like, all right. I was like,
did it revolutionize it for you? Were you revolutionized?
By revolution, I have no. There's no chance of revolution with this.
Did a revolution take place in your heart?
No, I'm one of those film watcher people that if I've seen something 150,
you're a grizzled film veteran.
Absolutely. Where if a guy eats a sandwich in a movie, I'll be like, oh, I've seen this already. I've seen it already, But not that bad.
This person walked into a room. I've seen that.
Hey, look, is that a city? Wait a minute, is that guy breathing? Oh, no. I've seen this already. But I'll have some caveats. I did actually enjoy my time with this film, but for it to be the revolutionary, I think not.
I wouldn't in any way call this film revolutionary. I would call it a good movie.
Yeah, it's fun. It's entertaining. So with this, I'm sure there's a bunch of people that love like zombie and horror films. Like, hey man, just shut your mind off. I love zombie movies. I
mean, zombies are a little, overdone at this point, but still, I love it.
There's like a horror fan that's going, hey man, just shut your mind off. It's a horror movie. Enjoy it, bro. They're doing that, and I'm like, yes, I enjoyed it. I'm trying to think
of who's that fucking guy that's in. I can't think of the actor. Whatever. It doesn't matter. Never mind. I give up.
What was he in?
The guy who played the fucking... he's like a very famous blonde actor that's always like talking like a surfer dude. And he's in...
Sean Penn?
No, he plays... he plays the Man in Black in that terrible Dark Tower. And he's in like a million things. He's very famous.
Matthew McConaughey.
Yeah.
It's fun. Finally, you were the one that forgot something. I'm the one that always forgets something.
I always forget everything.
This film, The Sadness... I remember seeing the trailer for this, and the trailer starts out with the Kevin Spacey gentleman in the movie. He looks just like... for some reason, he doesn't look like Kevin Spacey, but he just reminds me of Kevin Spacey because he's like a creep on a train. Mm-hmm. Not that, that's...
See, I pegged him as the Jordan Peterson guy, because I watched his whole dialogue before he went bad.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, this is how incels get formed. This virus turns people into incels. That's what it does.
It'd be funny if that character, the businessman, if he he was like, I was just being nice. I just wanted to do things. And then he can he'll look over to a guy to his left and he's like, why don't you clean your room? If you clean your room, your life will be fine. Anyway, so back to this film. So I had seen the trailer and it had this Kevin Spacey / Jordan Peterson gentleman on the train. And it starts out with him going, why doesn't do this? And then it turns into some sort of massacre on the train. And I was like, okay, all right. And so, I'm into it because then every blurb on it is like revolutionary, the grossest movie you'll see this
year. It's very
year,
violent. I'll give it that.
It's a very violent film. So then I saw it and I was just like, huh. I was like, huh.
I like that old lady that kind of starts the violence.
Is it the old lady?
She comes in a cafe or something.
Yeah, that's the old lady that he sees on the roof at the beginning of the
film.
So
let's start with this one. That's like the first like violent scene, I would say, is like when she.
Right. Yeah.
That was oh my god, this is very. So this
movie is about Jim and Kat. So Jim is played by a handsome man, and Kat is played by a gorgeous woman. They're just like. Imagine just dropping two models into a film.
They really are like supermodels. It's crazy.
It's really like I you know what I pictured like they'd have hidden cameras in their house and then they would just like pose and then a photo like would pop off because they were like handsome and good looking people. But anyway, we need to follow these good looking people and they're in their house. They're just sort of starting out the day. I'm always like fascinated by like the breakfasts and foods that you see in like Asian cinema and stuff like that, because you wonder like what's in that stuff, like because they definitely have some good cuisine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because they always eat this.
I've tried many times to cook my own Chinese food with no success. It always comes out horrible.
You're racist. You're just a white man trying to.
I'm just trying to eat good food. I just want to eat good food.
I'm always fascinated by it's not necessarily a meat bun, but it's like a bun with like paste inside.
I know what you're talking about.
And that's what they eat in the morning. I'm like, and it makes you think like, damn, I want one of those right now, but you don't ever know what it is. I know I would go to, there was a Japanese restaurant, a Japanese store in Manhattan where you get like, they had a curry ball, right? Uh-huh. So it's like those meatballs, but it's deep fried and inside of it is curry, but sweet curry. Oh my god, I love Asian food. It's so
the best Chinese food I've ever had was in Seattle. It really puts all New York Chinese food to shame.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's like crazy how much better it is. It's so good.
Is it more like traditional, like actual real like Chinese food?
I guess it must be because it was definitely like not like any I'd ever had in New York, and you know the places are like completely filled with like people, like Chinese people eating, like so you could tell like it's like the locals like it. It's not like
okay, yeah, it's always
white
weird
Jewish people from New York eating in Chinese restaurants.
Because it's weird because whenever I go to a Chinese restaurant and I'm like ordering my food and stuff like that, and then I'll see like one of the workers are eating and they're eating something that looks like alien, like it's not even on. You could tell it's not on the menu.
Yeah.
So I'm sure there's like when an actual Asian person comes in and orders this, they'll get like the real good stuff. Because like one final thing is like there used to be a guy called Andrew Zimmern. He's still around, but he used to be like a host, sort of like a foodie version of Anthony Bourdain.
Okay.
And he had a show called Bizarre Foods on the Travel Channel, which is now fucking.
I think I've
for some reason
seen that.
So he's like this bald little like portly guy, and he used to go all around everywhere eating whatever, like elephant ball sacks and shit like that. He was eating everything. I remember one time he went to like it was an episode where we went to a tribal area, and hold on to your seats. There was a tradition where I guess when a boy becomes a man or something, they're like a little child, they cut, they obviously circumcised the kid, right? And the elders would eat the flesh of it. And you see Zimmerman's face look like he was in a horror movie because he was like...
That is a horror movie.
Because he was like, I thought I had to like eat it and I would have eaten it. And I was just like, oh my god, they would have blurred that shit out. But anyway, he got in trouble for Asian food because he loves like, real Asian food. Like he eats actual Asian food.
Yeah.
And he said a pretty simple quote where he was like, because he's so used to eating like real Chinese, food.
Yeah.
That he was like, the American Chinese restaurant is bullshit. That's what he said. And they canceled him. They fired him from the channel. They took him off of that. Because they must have thought that he was saying all Chinese people are bullshit or something. Oh my God. Because you know how people are. Like, the guy was complimenting actual Chinese delicacy.
Of course.
You know what I mean? But of course people were like, what? What did he say? What? And then they like went crazy. So it's just like so stupid. So everybody's got to be careful about this. Anyway, these guys that are at the beginning of the film talking about the virus not being real, or the part where
that's true.
We shouldn't politicize the virus. Like it's like It's like if the director of Rob Jabbis came to your house.
Yeah, but you see, I don't consider that political. I consider that science versus fucking idiots.
Well, I mean, regardless, everything is politicized, and I was surprised at how that like played out in this film, where the genuine message was, because there were people watching the trailer who have seen the film, right?
Yeah.
And they're like, they take a screen grab from the film, and they'd be like, haha, see, like, it's all fake. Like, the characters are saying that, this is all bullshit. I'm like, the movie's about people that are infected and crazy. People. You can watch the movie. The movie is with the people going crazy and killing each other. How is it saying the virus is fake?
But you know what would happen. No matter how severe the virus, the virus could kill 100% of people that got it, like fucking The Stand or something, and they would still be like, it's not real. Like, as millions of people are in piles of corpses.
They're driving on the highway with a nuclear missile on their car.
It's the 5G from my cell phone.
But so this movie is pretty political in that sense, and it was so funny because I would say, oh, it's timely, but like we've been living in this.
I mean, I guess it must have been made about with references, obviously, to this.
It's got to at least had started filming after March 2020. You know what I mean? It's like it has to be for a while. But anyway, speaking of production values, I think it's a beautiful looking film.
That's really well made.
It looks like a real movie. Like it's a real movie.
I'm sure we've seen other Taiwanese films, but I can't remember what.
I can't think of, but I'm sure.
I know we've seen at least 2 or 3 of them. But anyway, like, trying to remember if those were good or like what. I don't know. Anyway.
I think for the most part, we usually lean when we see a Asian horror film.
I feel like anytime we watch any non-US or Canadian film, we always aim for the good ones.
Yeah, pretty much we try at least. Yeah. So anyway, Jim and Kat start their day off. What do you think about Jim and Kat? I think they're pretty good actors in the film.
Yeah, I think they're great.
The movie does not fall into the zombie. Well, the movie is a zombie trope. It's a whole zombie trope film, but it doesn't fall into that thing where the zombie film it sort of does but doesn't. Where usually they'll gather up and they'll be with a bunch of survivors for the last half an hour of the film, and then they have to escape, because that's usually what every zombie movie is. Because every zombie is they gather up and then the zombies break in, and
it gets a little silly at points, I have to say, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean it's an over the top zombie film, but in this case, like, Jim never catches up to Kat. Well, he does eventually at the end, and Kat like runs into, luckily or unluckily, a scientist that is...
No, that's luckily. She would have died if he didn't take her in, probably.
So what the main selling point of this film is that how gory and graphic and violent it is. And the thing is, you and I have seen a bunch of Necrostorm movies.
Yeah, but those are like, you can't top those. It's impossible.
Yes. So it's as gory as a film can be.
Yeah, it's like the maximum gore besides that. Those movies.
It's not gore on the level of like, well, like would you consider
and people were talking about there's 2 movies we've seen by them, but one called like Little Necro Red or something. It's not necessarily a well-written movie, but it is the goriest movie I've ever seen.
Yeah, Little Necro Red. If you want to see like a gore, it's like Dead Alive is extremely gory.
Dead Alive is like cartoon gore. This is like realistic anime style gore.
Yeah, right. So it pushes the limits. It's not like, but it's like disturbing gore on the level of, what was that movie that we saw? Remember the girl hitting the guy's dick with a hammer? What was that movie that we called?
Are you talking about Antichrist?
What was it calling it? Satanism. What movie would we call
Antichrist?
Right, Antichrist.
Really good
so
movie.
That. Well, but that has like quick gore, which leaves more to the imagination.
But it's so
people,
brutal when it shows.
There's clitoris stuff, penis stuff.
No, don't ruin it.
All right, so it's not graphic like that's graphic. That's like art house graphic, where you're allowed to get away with a lot more stuff because it's really shocking. Here, it's shocking in the sense of what carries on film. Like I'll say, a Serbian film is more shocking than this is.
Yeah.
Just for the shit that happens in that movie, but that's more like sexually charged horror. While they say this is
this is more like you could be on a train and all of a sudden a psychotic person starts stabbing people, and that can happen. That happened on a bus with this guy with a sword or something.
So yeah, the main selling point of this film is there's a scene on a train. I'm jumping around, but there's a scene on a train where Kat is sitting on the train, and so she's getting, I don't know what she was like. She had to travel, right, from work to somewhere else. She was traveling to work, and she was on the train, and there's like some old guy who was like, I guess he thought she was very pretty, so he starts complimenting her.
Well, he had seen her before also.
He can't take a hint of, like, you know, she doesn't want to be bothered.
But I was wondering, is that his normal personality, or was that the virus starting to work in him?
I don't know.
I think it was like kind of showing it, like developing in him in real time, is what I got out of that.
Okay. Yeah, I thought he was just a regular sort of creep.
I mean, he was a creep, but I think the virus was making it worse. My thought about this was, what would happen to Ted Bundy if he got this virus? Would he just become normal?
Right? Like, he just actually goes...
Like, somebody who has no control over their violence and shit, like, what would happen to them?
I would imagine they would become super sensuous assaulter, man. So there is sensuous assault in this film, because I can't try to say the word.
Oh yeah, we can't say the word now because
will bury our videos like they usually do. So there's a lot of SA in this movie. Boy, do I hate these terminologies.
Yeah, what the fuck is wrong with the word?
And we
can't say a word? What the fuck?
Yeah, I know, because the commercials for McDonald's won't play in front of our videos, which they don't anyway. So there is like a lot of SA in this movie, but like surprisingly, the first time it happens is like to a guy. It's happening everywhere, so it's like these horny zombie rapists that are running around like sensuously assaulting people, and even that wasn't really graphic. Like, you know, it was more implied.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it was more like focusing close-ups on people's faces and stuff like that, other than like, you know, sitting down and watching it.
The eye socket one was pretty upsetting.
Yeah, that was pretty upsetting. But so the whole thing starts out with Jim and his girlfriend. They're leaving their work. He sees this like old woman on a roof, or like a person in white on a roof, which surprisingly reminded me of X for some reason. That's a movie we're going to do next week. And this lady ends up showing up at like this restaurant, and she starts attacking people. Like, she like throws fryer grease into that cook's face, and his face starts melting off. But for some reason, it reminded me of
Sleepaway Camp 1.
It reminded me of Trauma more than it did like seriously scary or disgusting.
Yeah, but I love that type of like violence.
Yeah, you too. Like when I saw, like, that was like one of my favorite parts in Watchmen. You know, when they what the hell, Rorschach, he's in jail, and he like kicks some guy's ass, and then he throws a whole thing of grease on the guy's face, and the guy's face like melts off in real time. So I love that type of stuff. You hardly see that. But anyway, the lady starts attacking people. She's like, well, now watching it, I want to get some fries. That's delicious looking. I think I couldn't tell if that was like a man as dressed up as a woman, or I just don't know. Either way, I'm probably offended somebody by saying that. But the gore is pretty good in that. And then it just becomes Jim running to go find his girlfriend. You know something I did actually like?
What?
There was like a scene where he's trying to call Kat, and he's watching some sort of weird like flash animation cartoon of like a wolf chasing down little sheep. Yeah. It looks like 1920s animation, but it's obviously flash animation just because of the way it looks. And then if you look closely, like, the wolf is fucking all the sheep. It's just like, what?
Do you
like,
think that was like
it's obviously it's obviously something. It's a
But was it made just for this movie?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because I mean, where the hell are you gonna see that cartoon where a wolf is fucking 3 sheep? Like, that's not like for.
That's gotta be like people. Some kind of furry porn, maybe.
Maybe, but it's definitely like flash animation. You can tell it's done with computer, because like flash animation has like a repetitive motion to it. So anyway, meanwhile, Kevin Spacey's trying to flirt with this young, very beautiful woman, and you know, she rebuffs him, and you do see that like that is another political thing of like a Me Too sort of thing, not necessarily like a Me Too Amber Heard.
It's not
Johnny
political.
Depp.
That's what's so stupid about it.
But like, I'm just saying that's like anything that happens to people in real life. So this guy's trying to hit on her, and then this guy comes out on the train, and he has like these cool, at least he has cool shades on, and he starts stabbing people, and I'm watching this going, oh, and it's so funny because then like a week after I saw this, some fucking creep in New York City went on the N train and started shooting people.
I heard about this.
Smoke bombs. Thankfully, the guy's a terrible aim, because people did get
no
shot.
Thanks to
they
the
got
cops
shot in the
that
legs.
allowed it to happen with all their fucking funding. Then they still can't do shit. These useless pieces of shit.
The cops probably said to the guys, "Hey, you couldn't like aim a little higher, you know what I mean, so I can get some desk work." But yeah, so thankfully, like that actually happens on the train. Like it actually happens. So Watching that, I was just like, oh Christ, with this guy stabbing people. I think of plenty of like horrible train stories that have happened in the past. Like there was I'm telling you, people got hit by the train more than like twice on 2 trains that I've gone in the past like month. We had to divert the train because somebody got hit by the fucking train. I'm like, oh my god.
What, they jumped or they got pushed or what?
I don't know. The last time that happened, I was on a train and we had to like our 2 trains. There's east and west side, obviously, of the train moving, and then they said, oh, somebody's been hit and such, so we can't go this. Obviously people get upset, so we have to like divert the train to another direction of like west side or something like that.
Right.
So I'm like sitting there, and then I read in the paper later it was 2 French guys that are graffiti artists. They went to New York City, and I guess they wanted to go. Nobody does graffiti on the trains anymore because they just don't. Like they do.
I read about why they don't actually.
Oh, so I don't know, but they have some new like thing with computer where they can tell people on the train and they have cameras and stuff like that. But apparently these 2 guys must have like went the wrong way and got hit by a train. They were like 2 French artists and they got killed in the train. So I guess that's what happened. But anyway, back to this guy.
What are we talking about?
I don't know. We thought we couldn't find anything to talk about. It's like 20 minutes in. So anyway, there's lots of gore. That train sequence is great. It's really disturbing. Like I'll give him that. It's really fucked up.
Yeah.
What did you feel about that scene?
Yeah, no, it's definitely fucked up. Because shit like that has happened. Like on the bus with that crazy guy that was like chopping people with like a sword or some shit. Like,
there's proper amount of gore, you know what I mean? Especially when he stabs that guy in the throat and then the blood rains up into the air. I love that part. That was like super graphic and gory. There's not really much you can sit back and analyze this film other than it's like a brutal slasher type of movie. Because then Kat takes this other woman who gets...
I can't remember her name, but...
yeah, I can't remember her name. She gets her eye stabbed out and they start running out. So it's essentially, it is a zombie film where there's nothing deep going on other than this sort of obviously overtly political sort of messaging in the film. And the businessman is chasing them.
I was happy when that fucking little wormy dude got killed by her, the eyeless girl.
The worm guy.
Yeah,
that was so funny because he was the one where like he got his phone stolen. I think he's appropriately angry about getting his phone stolen during a fucking crazy.
I mean, sure, but he like is a little piece of shit.
And he gets like torn apart in the end. I always like, there's something with me when a main character loses their fingers in a movie.
Oh, it happens real early on too.
Yeah, it happens.
The first thing.
He gets his fingers sheared off, and I was like, oh, these characters are useless now. Like that's what I always, for some reason, I think about.
What do you think going to happen to Roland in Dark Tower?
I was like, oh well, fuck. I was like, well, he's fucked now, because we're you're artists, right? So we use our fingers.
Yeah.
So I think about hands in a completely different way than I guess a normal person.
No, me too.
Everybody thinks about their fingers. You know what I mean? Like,
Jamie
you don't think about what's
Lannister.
happening, right? So you gotta pick your nose, you scratch your ass. People do that. That's the most important part of the day.
Well, I could use other things to scratch my ass, like.
So I think Kim's part of the film, I bet Kim's part of the film, I think is much more interesting than Jim's. Because Jim would usually be the character that... Sorry, what did I say? Kim?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about like Better Call Saul or something. So Kat's part of the side of the film is more interesting in what she goes to because it's a little bit more action-y.
Yeah.
You'd think Jim's
There's more characters, and Jim is just like him wandering around, basically.
Yeah, because Jim... You would usually think as the boyfriend he'd be the setup protagonist that he's gonna go save the day and everything, and he doesn't really. He's just like saving his own ass, but he's not really good at it. But I did enjoy the part where there's like these schoolboys that
the baseballs, yeah.
Yeah, they look like 40-year-old men, but they're supposed to be schoolboys, and they're beating up this guy, and then we find out the guy was actually sexually turned on by getting hit over the head with bats and stuff like that. Which I'm sure there's people that are like that, so that's fine. So it all culminates.
Well, I think he was in the virus,
Yeah, and then we get obviously the vision that he is infected with the virus, because usually in movies they won't like somebody will just turn into a zombie, and they try to explain it really quick that maybe he had a blood loss, so that's why he was picturing that woman in the lake, or he saw a dummy head and thought it was a woman's face. Because like I was watching a really good Netflix show called All of Us Are Dead, which is like a South Korean zombie show.
Okay.
That hopefully we'll talk about soon. It's 12 episodes, so they'll probably be in 100 years. And like when people get infected by that, the infection of that film is that the virus kills the person, right? Like the person's dead. The person, there's no more left of the person, but so the virus just ends up working and stimulating the heart. So the person's like some sort of raving maniac. But when they look at other people,
what if they have a pacemaker?
I guess, because they shoot lasers out of their hand. But they see the people when they first start getting infected, they see the people looking like they're mocking them, like they have black eyes and they're mocking them and stuff. So in here, I guess you just start like, I don't know. And the explanation of the virus is that it's more about like the virus is like stimulating a part of the brain. They actually went scientifically with it, and they try to explain what happens, to the brain and stuff like that, which is fine. It's more stimulating, like you're doing stuff on purpose, like you want to do it, like you have no what is it, like
filter,
a governor, right? You have no governor to stop you from doing the worst shit that you can do to other people. And you enjoy it, and these people are laughing about it. I did appreciate that all the people have that very creepy smile on their face, because usually when they do that in an American horror film, it's like a child smiling, and then people in American theaters going, "Oh my god, that kid is smiling! I gotta get out of this theater!" And they run out there. But in here, like, it actually is genuinely creepy. So the film kind of, I think, loses its steam after the baseball scene, because there is that whole like.
I liked the parts in the hospital, whatever that place was, where they were, the hospital, I guess.
I kind of wish there was no lull in this movie. I wish it was just like.
How long is this movie, actually?
It's about an hour and 39 minutes and 58 seconds, so probably about an hour 20 minutes. And so and it's interesting they give false hope, because that young lady who gets her eyeball, who gets fucked in the face, she literally gets face fucked. Like, she tells Kat, she goes, thank you, I'll remember you, and then she ends up getting just killed anyway. Later on, I was like, oh, okay.
I was hoping that they would have her, try to.
You think the jizz like went into her skull and that's what infected her?
Yeah, how does it get it? We don't even know. Probably through blood, I'm guessing. But I feel like it would have been cool, because she said that whole nice thing about how she'll never forget her, and then she tries to kill her later. That would be cool.
Yeah,
but they didn't do that.
They kill the president of Taiwan, like with a grenade.
That was a little silly.
And exploded. That felt like a little, I don't know. I wonder if like Rob Jabbas was in Taiwan, people chasing him after that shit. But yeah, so it ends up just turning into the sort of standard last 5 minutes where like we got to get out of here because people are going crazy. They killed the businessman pretty quick, I thought. Well, I mean, he's throughout the whole film. Yeah. But I thought the way they dispatched him was pretty quick.
I expected it to be a little more dramatic, and I guess she is truly immune, but it doesn't matter because she's fucking dead. And and then I wonder, my question was, and I guess I left it vague on purpose, was she shot on purpose? Like the person in the helicopter had the disease and wanted to kill her, or did they shoot her because they assumed she was bad?
Yeah, because they can still operate things, because like there was a part where the cop, that was a pretty cool scene when Jim was running. It was a police officer, and the police officer just started pulling his guns out and shooting at him. So I was like, yeah, that's like real life too. That's just like it's no different.
They're conscious. Like, yeah, right.
I bet you that cop wasn't even infected. That's a normal United States cop. He's just started shooting at people.
Yeah.
So then, like the latter half of this film, when Kat is dealing with this asshole scientist. Although I don't know if well, I guess he is an asshole. I mean,
of course he's an asshole.
He is dumb. She should have choked those kids to death before. That's a strange thing to say, but he just threw these babies into a dumpster.
He didn't have to do that either.
No, because he infected the kids. Like I thought that the kids were already infected, but apparently
he didn't have to do that on children.
Right. Yeah, of course. But he's a stereotypical scientific bad guy in a horror film, because that's a part of like 28 Days Later. Like 28 Days Later when it first came out, and then the main characters are running, and then they run into a bunch of army guys.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
The army guys. You have to take like 15 minutes to hear that the army guys are like rapists and like sexual guys and shit like that. And you're like, oh, I don't give a fuck. Just to have the zombies running and eat everybody. I don't care about this crap. So it becomes that part for this film. Not that I
like that part.
It's fine. I've seen 100 times. That's the thing. It's me. The problem with this horror deconstruction is me. I know that. It's me. I'm the problem on this show because
it's not you. It's me.
It's me because I watch all these movies and I just say, all right, do something different. But nothing can be done different because everything's been done already.
Yeah.
It's just the way that you film it. You know what I mean? So I'm the asshole here. I understand that. I get that, people. There's people always pissed off at me about this shit. I get it. I'm aware of it.
He is
you know
an
what
asshole.
I am an asshole. So, at the end, obviously, Kat kills the businessman in a pretty good way. She hits him over the head. It was very, whatchamacallit, you never saw it, but there was a movie called Irreversible.
Yeah, I know what it is. I know what it is. And I've been meaning to see it forever. I just haven't.
Oh, boy. Get ready to watch
I know all about it.
Don't do what I did and go take a girl to see it, because that was probably the worst decision.
Oh, my God. No, I would not.
Boy,
yeah, no, I know enough
bad.
about it to know not to do that. Jesus.
But it is the fire extinguisher over the head scene. It was great. That cop. I mean, I always think about this, like, feet being halved. Mm-hmm. Like, like when the scientist guy gets his foot cut, not his foot completely cut off, but cut off from like the top portion.
Yeah, above the knuckles of his toes.
Oh, that shit got to me real bad. And then the zombie threw up into his open wound. I was just like, oof, that was pretty bad. So then, obviously, then she ends up actually running up to Jim and stuff like that.
They're not really zombies.
Yeah, you're just like super perverts.
Yeah.
And I wish I had come up with that.
Petersons.
So she ends up running up she sees Jim, and then she realizes they can't be. Once you see Jim's like feet walking around, because I think they feel like it's a big reveal. Like he's.
Well, when I saw him, I thought maybe he is, but also I thought, okay, maybe he's got so much blood loss and he's just exhausted.
I guess it could be, but then you'd be a fool. So then they ended up he's telling her what he's gonna do to her, which maybe she was confused because maybe that's what they usually their sex game is.
Yeah, right.
She's like, is this you or like?
Is this the skin peeling game? Say the safe word.
Right? So then she ends up going to the roof. So it's one of those sort of miserable, like, all zombie movies, well, most zombie movies end up with this sort of miserable ending where everybody dies. It's like a cult movie where the cult always wins. Mm-hmm. Zombie movies, for some reason, the main characters always get eaten out. Eaten out. I'd watch that movie. I'm sure there's a movie.
Well, if Jim had gone through that door, that might have happened.
That happened in American Psycho. Remember that? When he bit that lady's... And so yeah, she goes up on the roof, and we hear off camera that she ends up getting lit up by bullets. And I was like, well, that sucks. The only person that they probably could have taken samples from who was not like.
Yeah, but they probably killed her on purpose. Like I'm guessing. I don't know.
And then it ends up with Jim staring creepily right at us in the camera, doing that smell, which I thought was a pretty cool final image of the film. I thought it was really nice. And then it turns into metal music, because horror movies and metal music they always match up pretty well. I thought for this one it actually was appropriate. It wasn't
just going to extend past Taiwan?
I would assume, because the whole deal with China, we won't even talk about that. But if you say Taiwan's not part of something, then they go insane over there.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean, I'm not talking about in real life. I'm talking about in the movie where the virus escaped. Oh yeah, and
I think all these actors are a lot of these actors are actually Chinese. So I think.
No, I'm saying will the pandemic of this virus
around the world?
Yeah.
I'm sure it is. I mean,
maybe it could be contained. Maybe they nuke Taiwan or something.
Maybe. No, I think their problems are far worse. I think they've already gone out of the country. You know what I mean? I'm sure there's people on the planes doing that shit. They just didn't have the budget for it.
Yeah, but I think it acts so quickly that the plane would just be crash landing. I don't think it would.
Yeah, you're right. But I
again, they'd fly the plane to the next country because they're conscious.
That's true. Yeah. Unless the pilots are maybe it was lucky and they flew into a rip in the Aurora Borealis like the Langoliers.
Yeah. And the Langoliers are trying to eat them, and they're raping. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't say the word.
They're raping the Langoliers.
They're rapping the Langoliers.
You see the Langoliers they're flying after them, and you hear that the screech sound effect like in a cartoon. And then you see, ooh, and they spin around and fly away.
And that guy that rips the paper is just screaming and running.
Starts butt fucking the Langoliers. Anyway, now that's funny. See, we've got a joke. There was one joke at least in this episode.
The Langoliers have buttholes. I mean, who even knows?
Ooh boy, that seems pretty dangerous. If their teeth are like buzzsaws, ooh, that sounds pretty scary.
Where do they poop?
I don't know. They keep their figures so well for eating so much things.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I enjoyed the film. Is it revolutionary? I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But I'm only reacting to these people saying this. You know what I mean?
People always overhype shit.
Of course, I'm overreacting to what the hype people are saying. Like, this is revolutionary. But I did see people who watched the film going, "Oh, this is the grossest movie you'll ever see." No, it's not. It's a million other fucking grosser movies that came out. But I mean,
maybe it's the grossest movie they ever saw.
This is up there. There was a comic, almost forgot to bring it up. There was a comic called Crossed by Garth Ennis. And it's like a zombie comic book, but it's this. This is exactly what it is. Okay. And so people were saying maybe that the director had, cited. I didn't see anywhere where the director talked about this comic, but there's a comic book called Crossed where it's extremely graphic, like this. It's like if The Walking Dead, but like there's a part where like there's a guy attacking people with a cut off horse cock. Mm-hmm. So it's that, like Crossed. Like if you even look at an issue of it, it's disgusting. Like it's like this. It's like. It's super graphic, but they could never make that movie the way that it's supposed to be. And I feel as censored as this is as close to that comic you can see. So if you want to read a comic book version of it, if you're like a gore hound, go read Crossed. It's by Garth Ennis and drawn by Jason Burrows. I never read it. All I know is that it's like super. Garth Ennis is the guy who wrote Preacher, and he wrote a whole bunch of shit. He's a really good writer for comic books. Okay. Like if you like extreme kind of comic books. And he wrote The Punisher, I believe, which is his Punisher comics are fucking great. But I don't really read comics like that anymore. Well, those type of comics. And so if you want to read a comic and if you're into this, go read Crossed. That's what you like. They'll never make a Crossed movie because they can't do it. American movies, they can't even have a guy fucking wear like a pink shirt without somebody going crazy. Watching films, so you can imagine like sexual shit going on in a movie with zombies and stuff like that. So I thought I liked the movie. So this is not me saying a negative review.
What's your rating?
I would give it a 7 out of 10. Kevin Spacey bothering you on the train when a young woman on the train when obviously he should be a little boy. Danny, what rating would you give The Sadness 2021?
I give this an 8 out of 10.
Okay.
The Love of Your Life. Is he making a sexual pass at you, talking about ripping off your skin, or is something wrong? It's hard to tell until they say the safe word.
That might be the longest rating you've ever given on this podcast. And with that, Danny, what's the final word?
QR codes